Good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here discussing the famous little book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Waddles. So keep in mind, this was published in 1910. What I can tell you is this book is a wealth creation formula. It's like a blueprint. And if you haven't read it, I would highly suggest that you do so. It's a small little book, but the wealth of information that's in this book is totally incredible. I'm just going to start you off with a little video that Bob made and really get us off on a good note of our abilities that we have and how to tap into them.
You can think. That is huge. We assert there is one original formless substance from which all things are made. All the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are only different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is a thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. The original thought of a moving universe first extended throughout the formless substance. The thinking stuff resulting from that thought took the form of systems of planets and continues to maintain that form. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought, holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds. It took the form of these bodies and moved them accordingly. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in the original substance. As it thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it takes that motion. That is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, and the world is a part of a thought universe. This is pretty simple. This is not rocket science. This is just pure life. I have said that an individual gets rich by doing things in a certain way. In order to do so, you must become able to think in a certain way. Your way of doing things is the direct result of the way you think about things. If you don't like what's happening in your life, change your thinking. It's not her, it's not him, it's not them, it's you. You are a thinking center. There's something unique in this whole planet that you're a part of, in the whole universe that you're a part of. You're a thinking center. There's power, there's spirit flowing to and through you. You can take this power that's flowing in and turn it into thoughts. Yet bring the thoughts together and build ideas. That's what this seminar is. Have you any idea how many times I run these seminars when I was in the car all alone? If you are not satisfied with your life, if you are not making the progress that you want to make with your life, change it. Change it. You can think. That is huge.
Love that. I listen to that over and over and over. So let's get into what he's saying here. Don't forget, we're reading this little book, The Science of Getting Rich. So Bob says many people confuse money with riches. Money is an idea, riches is a concept. So, what does that mean? A concept means that true wealth extends far beyond mere money and material possessions, representing a state of abundance that includes mental, emotional, and physical well being. Being rich can reflect a state of mind, satisfaction, and overall life quality. So, when we think about that, it embodies everything. And we have to have money to do the things we want to do. We have to have things to invest in, money to invest in ourselves. How can we understand ourselves if we're not learning the right things? So he says at the beginning, you're right to be rich. Whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it's not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. We cannot rise to our greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless we have plenty of money. In order to unfold the soul, we are a soul, we're living in a physical body. In order to unfold the soul and develop talent, we must have many things to use. And we cannot have these things unless we have the money to buy them. People develop in mind, soul, and body by making use of things. And society is so organized that people must have money in order to become the possessor of things. Therefore, the basis of all human advancement, so we're here to grow, must be the science of getting rich. The object of all life is development, so we're either creating or disintegrating. It's a law of life. Everything that lives has the inalienable right to all the development it is capable of attaining. Each of us has a right to life. This means we have the right to the free and unrestricted use of all things that may be necessary to our fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfolding. In other words, our right to be rich. Now, Bob says, in this book, I shall not speak of riches in a figurative way. To be really rich does not mean to be satisfied or contented with a little. You ought not to be satisfied with a little if you are capable of using and enjoying more. The purpose of nature is the advancement and development of life. Let me repeat that. The purpose of nature is the advancement and development of life. Nature never says, I'm not growing. But we do. Why? Because there's habits, beliefs in there that unless we uncover what they are, and some of them we will never know, we're going to stay where we are. Every individual, and that means you and me, should have all that they can to contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. Let me read that again. Every individual should have all that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. Success in life is becoming what we want to be. Success in life is becoming what we want to be. When you own all you want for the living of the life you are capable of living, you are rich. Life has advanced so far and become so complex that even the ordinary man or woman requires a great amount of wealth in order to live in a manner that even approaches completeness. You naturally want to become all that you're capable of becoming. This desire to realize innate possibilities is inherent in human nature. Success in life is becoming what you want to be. You can become what you want to be only by making use of things, and you can have the free use of things only as you become rich enough to buy them. Right? So we want to go to seminars, we want to invest in ourselves, we want to travel, expand our horizons, travel to places, go places, do things. Therefore, an understanding of the laws of the universe and the science of getting rich is the most essential of all knowledge. Now, this next chapter has desire one, two, three, four, five, six. 6 times in one paragraph, the word desire. And desire is the first chapter in Think and Grow Rich. We have to want something. There's nothing wrong in wanting to get rich. The desire for riches is really the desire for a richer, fuller, and more abundant life. And that desire is praiseworthy. The person who does not desire to live more abundantly is uncommon. The individual who does not desire to have enough money, enough to buy all that is desired, may not be living to their full potential. So, in order for us to tap into our full potential to grow, we have to have money. Because if we don't have money, we're limited to what we can access, who we can access. That's why people go to events. That's why people travel. That's why people have a mentor. That's why people invest in themselves. Because we want what people have. We want what people know. Because that's going to save us years of trying to figure it out by ourselves. So, now, chapter 2. There is a science of getting rich. There is a science of getting rich. It is an exact science like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches. Once you learn and obey these laws, you will get rich with mathematical certainty. There is but one great law, namely, energy is, in theology, God is. All physical and mental science is based on this one great law, which operate in coordination with each other, which means all the laws work together at the same time. So, do you know the laws of the universe? Do you understand yourself? The law of vibration is the law that serves as the foundation for the law of attraction. So, what are these laws? The laws of perpetual transmutation, the law of relativity, the law of polarity, the law of vibration. It's not the law of attraction, it's the law of vibration, the law of rhythm, law of cause and effect, law of gender. The best definition of natural law seems to be that it is the uniform and orderly method of the omnipotent God. So this universe runs by law. It runs in an orderly fashion, and we're a part of it. Unlike any other form of animal life that has been created, we, as human beings, were given the power of choice or free will. Along with this power comes certain responsibilities. The capacity to choose does not involve freedom from the consequences of our choice. The laws or rules which govern every individual, you and me, and which we cover to some degree in this book, are as exact as the laws which govern the material universe. You can act in accordance with these laws, or you can disregard them, but you cannot in any way alter them. In other words, they're not man-made laws. The law forever operates and holds you to strict accountability, and there's not the slightest allowance for ignorance. It's like the law of gravity, right? Step off a balcony, you're going to fall. You can't say you didn't know. The law of attraction will deliver to you what you do not want as quickly and as certainly as it deliver what you do want. Think about that. And you could say, but I didn't know. It doesn't matter. It's an orderly universe. It operates by law. That's why we want to understand ourselves and understand these laws that govern us. The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. Well, what is that? By law, working with the laws. Those who do things in this certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich. Those who do not do things in a certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. It is a natural law that like causes always produce like effects. Therefore, any man or woman who learns to do things in this certain way will infallibly get rich. By law. And I'm going to discuss these laws. I'm going to give an overview on these laws. That the above statement is true is shown by the following. Getting rich is not a matter of environment. Like, I think of exactly where I live. 5 minutes up this way, you're in multi-million dollar homes. And 5 minutes the other way is the total opposite. Right? So it's not a matter of environment. It's not a matter of talent, because we have people that have superior talent and yet remain poor. So, what is he saying here? He is saying that when we learn to work with these laws, we will get rich. Now, what are the laws? Let me get my pen in here. Okay. The law of perpetual transmutation. Energy moves into physical form. The images you hold in your mind most often materialize in results in your life. So, this is the stick man. So, this is you, and this is me. Right? So, pretend this is your mind from your head up, and from here is the body. Just pretend. Now, we live by the 5 senses: hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. That's how we're operated. That's how we're programmed to live. Let's pretend this little circle here is the conscious mind, and this is the subconscious mind. So our conscious mind has the ability to think. It can say yes or no, has the ability to reject an idea. Yes, I like it. No, I don't. This is where all the knowledge from school is stored. This is where our higher faculties are stored. And I will discuss those in a little bit. And what are they? These are gifts that were given to us at birth when we came into this world. Imagination, intuition, our memory, our perception, our reason, which is our thinking mind, and our will, which is the ability to hold a picture on the screen of our mind, regardless of what's going on outside of us. That's all stored here. This is the part, the subconscious mind, which controls our body. This part of us is the feeling part of us, the emotional part of us. This part can only accept what we give it. It doesn't matter. You can say, I don't know. I didn't know. It doesn't matter. It can only accept what we give it. It doesn't know the difference whether something is real or false. That's why repetition of new ideas over and over and over and over and over, because what we're doing here, we're overriding old programming. We're overriding old conditioning, which is all stored in here. And a lot of this is from our upbringing, what happened to us when we were young. Because this part of us was wide open when we were born, up to 7 years old. Everything that was going on around us We didn't have the ability to think when we're infants. So this part of us is wide open. Whatever's going on around us, whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we feel, gets lodged in here. Think about that. This part of us controls 96 to 98% of all our results, our perceptions, and our behaviors. This part of us is going to determine what this part, the body, is going to do. So what's he saying here? Energy moves into physical form. So energy is all around us. Everything is energy. Energy moves into physical form. The images we hold in our mind most often materialize in results. Right? So whatever we hold in here, we get emotionally involved in here, our body will take the actions and we will see results. Law of relativity. Nothing is good or bad, big or small, until you relate something else to it. So I could have, just say, a piece of paper. Okay, hold on, let me just grab a piece of paper here. So it's the back of a card. So I could have this and put these two together, right? I could say this is big and this is small. Well, this is only big if I refer it to this. But if I get a huge sheet of paper, right, and I compare it to this, then this is bigger compared to this. So that's why they call it the law of relativity. Nothing is big or small until we relate it to something. Practice relating your situation to something much worse and yours will always look good. You ever be in that situation, you'd say you gladly take all your own problems behind when you hear somebody else's. The law of vibration and attraction. Everything vibrates, nothing rests. This desk is moving, my computer is moving, everything in my body is moving, the books behind me are moving. We can't see that. Conscious awareness of vibration is called feeling. Your thoughts control your paradigms, which are lodged in here, and your vibration dictates what you attract because we feel it in the body, right? If you feel fear here, you're going to feel it here. If you feel joy here, you're going to feel it here. The body represents what's going on in the mind. When you're not feeling good, become aware of what you're thinking and then think of something pleasant. So we take thinking for granted. I know I did for many, many years. Everything was just going on around me. But once I became aware that my thoughts create my reality, I really started to pay attention because everything I was getting was exactly the opposite of what I wanted. The law of polarity. Everything has an opposite: hot, cold, up, down, good or bad. Constantly look for the good in people and situations. When you find it, tell that person. People love compliments, and the positive idea in your mind makes you feel good. Remember, good idea, good vibration. Now, I got this at one of Bob's events, and I keep it in my window. And he got this idea from Dr. Michael Beckwith, who also starred in the movie The Secret along with Bob Proctor. Now, he wrote it on this, and he lives by this. And this goes with the law of polarity. It is what it is. Accept it. It will either control you or you will control it. Number 2, harvest the good. There's good in everything. Seek and you will find. So no matter what's going on in your life, if there's a situation happening, harvest the good. There's something good in it. Sometimes you have to really look. And the last one, forgive the rest. Forgive means to let go of completely, abandon, release it. So why do we want to do that? Well, we're like a hose, a garden hose, right? If we're holding resentment inside of us, the water can't flow. It's all tangled up. Anger, resentment, all of these draining emotions. And I know that because I went through that for a long time. I had so much anger. So if the garden hose is twisted, so look at your body like a hose, right? What are you holding on to? Because then the power that's coming to and through us can't fully reach us because we are clogged. We want to unclog ourselves so the water can flow to and through us. Very powerful. The law of rhythm. The tide goes out, night follows day. There's good times and bad times. When you're on a downswing, do not feel bad. Know the swing will change and things will get better. There are good times coming. Think of them. I love that. So a lot of times I'll go down to the ocean and I'll see the tide come in and the tide go out. Like our emotions can be like that, right? Sometimes they'll be on a high and sometimes they're on a low. Sometimes we feel great, sometimes we don't feel great. That's the law of rhythm. Everybody's subjected to the law of rhythm. Most people catch it faster. That's the thing. We don't want to stay in the lower vibrations. We want to remain on a good neutral balance. The law of cause and effect. Whatever you send out to the universe comes back. Right? Action, whatever action we take through the body, causes a reaction equal and opposite. Say good things to everyone and it'll come back to you. It may not come back through that person, but it will come back to you. We are the cause. We got to accept responsibility for where we are in our lives. And if we don't like where we are, we have the power to change that. That's where decision comes in. You got to make a decision. If we don't make a decision to go after something, to have a goal, we can have a goal, we can have dreams, but we have to take action towards them. They're not just going to come. And I always thought they were just going to come because I've been through hell and back so many times. I thought I deserved them. But those experiences taught me to grow. They taught me resilience, strength, believing in myself. The law of gender. Every seed has a gestation or incubation period. Ideas are spiritual seeds and will move into form or physical results. Your goals will manifest when the time is right. No, they will. So we have to let the seeds grow. We don't go digging up the seeds. Where's the flowers? We plant the seeds and we know the flowers are going to grow. But why do we do that with our goals? We dig them up. Where are they? Why are they not happening? It's not on our times tables when our goals are going to happen. But if our goals are for the highest good of all, which is to help other people, and we hold those goals on the screen of our mind, regardless of what's going on around us. What do you say here? They will manifest when the time is right. No, they will. He's not saying they may, they might. But a lot of times we let go of the goals when life happens. And life happens to all of us. Death, loss, pain, suffering, physical ailments, relationships, grief, financial worries. It happens to all of us. And we can get totally derailed. But if we can hold on to what it is that we want, that's why Bob always says, what do you really, really want? What do you really, really want? It has to be a desire, a burning desire. And I had a burning desire many years ago to change my life. And it never left me. Yeah, life has happened to me up and down, in and out, thrown in the mid-air, but the desire never left me. I started studying this book in 2018 when I heard Bob Proctor talked about it. I was sitting on my couch. My life was I was coming out of a lot of trauma, and I prayed somebody would be put in my path that would speak to me. And I heard Bob Proctor on Facebook talking about the science of getting rich, and I had no idea what he was talking about, but I felt it in my body that what he said was truth. And it was like the world stopped, and it was only me and him, and he was talking to my soul. And he said, we have the ability to create our lives. I had no idea. Nobody ever told me that. I wasn't around people who thought like that. And I made a decision, I can still see it right there on that couch in my apartment, that I was going to learn this material and teach it to other people. And that passion has never left me. And that's almost 8 years later. Now, what he is saying in the next chapter is increasing life. Let me go back here. Hold on 1 second. Let's go back to chapter 4. The first principle in the science of getting rich. And what is it? Thought. Thought is the only power that can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. So what is the formless substance? Energy. God, spirit, universe, intelligence, whatever it is you want to call it. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks, just like I showed at the beginning of this video. A thought of form in this substance produces the form. Energy is. It's the law of laws. We have the mental faculties to create our lives. So, what are they? Well, I'll give you an overview of what they are. And I would highly suggest you learn about them, because those are the gifts you were given to create the life that you want. Now, our higher faculties are the intellectual mind, right? We're spiritual beings given an intellect, and we live in the physical body. Our intellectual mind is here. This is where these higher faculties are stored. That's why it's so important we understand them, because if we only live by the hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, then we're limiting what we can grow into, who we can become, because if we only live by this, we're only going to get this. It cannot be any other way, right? Because it's the vision we're holding in our mind, the picture. If we don't understand the higher faculties, then how are we going to do that? So, what are they? Perception, will, imagination, memory, reason, and intuition. Okay, let's start at the beginning. As Bob says, it is our responsibility to learn how to utilize and develop these higher faculties to a greater degree. Nobody else can do it for us. We have to do it. That's why we want to study. And what are we studying? Ourselves. Us. What are we studying? The laws of the universe. How does this universe operate? I wanted to know all of this. I demanded to know. I dug my feet in the sand back in like 2013 or 2014, like a little child, but with such power you would have felt it in China. And I said, I demand to know who I am. I demand to know the meaning of life. And be careful what you ask for, because it was been quite the journey. But very grateful for the journey, because now I'm understanding it. And as Bob said, you cannot teach somebody something you do not understand yourself. can. Memory. Our memory is perfect. There's no such thing as a bad memory. There's only weak memories and strong memories. All of our higher faculties are perfect. They merely require exercise to strengthen them. That's why we want to understand them, study them. Reason, which is our thinking mind. Reason is what gives us the ability to think. Thinking is our highest function. It is our inductive reasoning faculty that gives us the ability to originate individual thoughts and bring them together in the formation of ideas. We can observe what we are doing and then think of ideas of how we could do it better. Since we're in control of our own thinking faculty, you should not spend any time thinking negative thoughts or originating ideas on why something cannot be done. Right, so the chair you're sitting on, my computer, the books around me, the book stand, the fan, the lights, the walls, the pictures, the air conditioner, all began in somebody's imagination, right? They're built on the imagination. Perception. Our perception is our point of view. When we see something that causes us to think something cannot be done, we can change our perception of the situation and originate an idea of how it can be done. Now, you can change your perception about anything you want. We have these abilities to do this. Imagination, and this is the start of the creative process in goal setting. Our imagination. We stopped developing our imagination at a very young age. And a lot of us was really young because we had responsibilities at a young age. Imagination creates fantasies. Fantasy is the first step of the creation in life. The creative process spans 3 stages: fantasy, theory, and fact, right? So if I think about, let me just grab a piece of paper. Okay, so we have fantasy, theory, goal, and fact. So this is how it works, right? So we start to use our imagination, right? We start to fantasize about what we want. Then it becomes a theory. We start to think about it, right? Consciously use our thinking mind. We start to build on the idea, right? What would it look like? Where would you be living? Just everything. Really take the time to build on it. And when we do that, it becomes a goal. Then when we ask ourselves 2 questions, am I willing to do this? Yeah. Am I able to do this? Yeah. Then we take the action and it'll become a fact. But that's the steps. It starts with fantasy, which is our imagination. That's how the creative process starts. The will. The will gives you the ability to hold one picture on the screen of your mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. The will gives you the ability to focus and concentrate. The more you practice developing your will, the stronger it will become. And Bob says, put a dot on the wall and focus on the dot. Or light a candle and just stare at it until you become one with the flame. That's focusing your attention. That's why we want to have a goal. We're focused. We know where we're going. We're directing our energy into a channel instead of giving it away. Intuitive factor. It is with your intuition that you pick up vibrations and translate those vibrations in your mind. Your intuition permits you to know and know that you know what is happening around you. Intuition is often referred to as a 6th sense, which is a misnomer. It is not a sense. It is one of your higher faculties and can be developed to an extraordinary degree. And we want to develop our intuition because it's the intuition which guides us on our path. He says, original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in the original substance. As it thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it takes that motion. This is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, and this world is a part of a thought universe. So here he says, in truth, there's no such thing as creation. Nothing is created or destroyed. All science and all theology teach that. If nothing is created or destroyed, then how do we get things? So, how do we get things? Creation as we know it, it's when we take one form of energy and mix it with another form of energy and create something different that would never have been created. We're not originating the first thought in the form of energy. Okay, hold on, let me reread that. Okay, creation as we know it, it's when we take one form of energy to mix with another form of energy and create something different that would never have been created had we not originated the first thought in the form of energy. Right? So we're here to manipulate energy. Dolores Cannon talks about that a lot. And we do that with our mind. And it starts with our imagination. It starts there. We want to grow. We want to create or disintegrate. And I have this little thing here. I want to share this with you. I got this at Bob's Paradigm Shift. So, how do we do all of this? Well, we want to have knowledge. And how do we get knowledge? Through study. We have to study. There's no other way. We're conditioned to live a certain way. Our paradigms control everything we do. If we don't take control of our life, we're going to keep getting more of the same. And that was not an option for me. But what happens when we don't know or we don't grow? That's why Bob says we're going to create or disintegrate. Well, everything turns into worry and doubt. Then fear steps in. And then we become paralyzed. And I know that because it happened to me. And then we have anxiety. And what happens? Anxiety gets suppressed. And what happens? Depression sets in. And then the body becomes dis-ease. Body not at ease. And then we disintegrate. Now, if I thought about my life and I was not growing or going after what I wanted, I couldn't live with myself. I just couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to think of myself at the end of this life and say I didn't take a chance and I didn't better myself. I didn't grow. I didn't study. I didn't take any risks. I didn't go after what I wanted and I stayed comfortable. Well, what happens after a time? The body disintegrates. Fear steps in. Anxiety. And anxiety gets suppressed inside the body. And then people get sick. Depression sets in. And then they stay home and they won't go out. But what's the opposite of that? Knowledge. How do we get that? Study. Understanding us, understanding the laws, understanding how this universe operates. Faith. Have faith in this universe, have faith in yourself. What does that cause? Well-being, expression, right? You're expressing yourself. You're accelerating. You're at ease. You're creating. So we can either be in the positive side of life or the negative. And a lot of times we'll flip back and forth because we're growing. We're never taught this when we're younger. But as long as we keep studying, and as long as we keep keeping the vision of what we want, have faith and understanding, that's why we're here. So what does he say in the Bible? Faith and fear both demand that you believe in something you cannot see. It's your choice. Love this. So have faith. We're in this universe that's operating, that doesn't stop moving, and we're a part of it. To choose to grow. The original thought of a moving universe first extended through the formless substance. The thinking stuff resulting from that thought took the form of systems of planets and continues to maintain that form. Thinking, holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds, it took the form of these bodies. How did this universe happen? How did these galaxies happen? How did the moon and the stars happen? How? It didn't happen by itself. It happened by law. Although centuries may be required to do the work by thinking the form of a slow-growing tree, the formless substance produces the tree. In creating, the formless substance seems to move according to the lines of motion it has established. The thought of an oak tree does not cause the instant formation of a full-grown tree, but it does start in motion the forces that will produce the tree along established lines of growth. Think about that. The tree can only attract what it's in vibration with. The tree will not attract what a carrot needs, or the acorn. It will not attract what a potato needs. It can only attract what it's in harmony with. It's like us. We can only attract what we're in harmony with. So if we're clogged up like the hose and all stuck and nothing can flow, what are we going to attract? More of that. It's by law. So I'm hoping I'm breaking it down really simply, right? We want a clear channel. We want to work on our beliefs. Where did they come from? If you look back on some of the things you think about, you'll be like, where did that come from? Where did those beliefs come from? A lot of times they're not even yours. They're handed down generation to generation. But they're in our subconscious mind, in our paradigm, which is here. And as Bob says, we may not have been responsible for them being put in there, but we are responsible for changing them. It's our responsibility for our life. Can't blame anybody else but ourselves. No thought or form can be impressed upon the original substance without causing the creation of that form. Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. Whatever you're planting, whatever you're thinking about, that's what you're going to get. A human being is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that a person fashions with his or her hands must first emerge from a thought, like the chair, the table, the bed. An individual cannot shape a thing until that same individual has thought that thing, right? And Bob always talks about Van Gogh, right? What did he say? He says, first he sees his painting, he dreams his painting, and then he paints his dream. Where was it? In his imagination. As far as the human race has confined its efforts wholly to the work of its hands, it has applied manual labor to the world of forms, seeking to change and modify already existing forms. So, when we think about that, what is that telling us? If we only think things with the physical, then we can only get the physical. But if we use our imagination, right? We can think way outside the box, and that's why we're here, to create. Now, there's a 3-syllabus statement in here that's so important, and it's throughout the book. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. Energy is cosmic waves that penetrate all time and space, and all time and space do not exist in the subconscious mind. Think about that. The subconscious mind is the spiritual part of us. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. When we take our thought and we're on that frequency, we will attract what we need, because everything is energy, right? We're here. Our goal is on a frequency. We want to get on that frequency. And when we think about our goal, it should excite us. It should scare us, but it should excite us, because it raises our vibration. It's staying there. That's the work. We want to stay on that vibration. That's why we want to have a goal. If we don't have a goal, how are we going through our day? You can form things in your thought, and by impressing your thought, with my little stick man, right, we can form things in our thought here, in the conscious mind, and by impressing our thought upon the formless substance, the subconscious mind, the emotional part of us, can cause the thing you think about to be created. Now, a great tool for helping ourselves when we're in that lower vibration, which we will, because it is the law of rhythm, is gratitude. Now, gratitude is connecting to God, connecting to Source, who has created all things. When we have gratitude for things, whether we have them in the physical form or not yet in the physical form, we are connecting to the source that creates everything, because everything is energy. Now, he says in here, to secure this harmonious relationship is a matter of such primary and vital importance that I will give some space to its discussion here. So she's talking about our connection to God, to spirit, to infinite intelligence. I will give you instructions, which if you follow them, will be certain to bring you into a perfect unity of mind with God. As Bob says, we are part of a deathless soul. Soul. Right, that's his words. The whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. Now, I made some notes on that. Let me get my notes. Hold on. So, here, he says we are here to do God's work. We are an expression of God. The perfection is within. It is that perfection in us that is seeking expression within and through us. So God wants to work to and through us. That's why we want to be like the hose, clear channel. That is why we want stuff. Because it is he says here, the very fact that you thought about something, that is proof you can have it. You may not know how to get it. When you're going after a goal that will cause you to go where you have never been, it is a desire of God that you should get rich. God wants us, you and me, to get rich because he can express himself better through us when we have plenty of things to use in giving Him expression. God wants to do greater good. That is why it has to be done within and through you and me. Right? We want to be better, do better, have more, because when we have more, we can give more. Now, our goal should be for the benefit of all, not just for ourselves, for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of others, to help them grow, be better. He says the desire for more is to be more, do more. And as we do that, we grow, we become more aware. What are we becoming more aware of? We're becoming more aware of our oneness with God. We become more aware of this infinite intelligence that operates in an orderly manner by law, this universe. We become more aware of these higher faculties that I spoke about that we have and how to utilize them properly. It's all in awareness. We want to expand our awareness of ourselves and how this universe works. If we do not understand, where's my little sticker? If we do not understand us, if we do not understand how this universe works, we're going to keep getting the same of the same. And what does he say? It doesn't matter. We can say we didn't know. It doesn't matter. Once we know, we know. And it's up to us to do the things that we have to do to become more aware of who we are and what we're capable of and bring that out. This is spirit expressing itself through us. That's what learning is all about, right? Because when we learn, we grow. We help others. It is desire, God, that we get rich, live and work in an environment that is conclusive to our unfoldment, to make things better for everyone, right? So it has to be for the highest good of all. Then he talks about, I want to share this little thing here with you. It's all my years. Gratitude. So here we have a little book. And he starts off his morning, every morning, with this. And he writes out 10 things he's grateful for. So 10 things he's grateful for in his life. It could be 5, and then 5 for what you want in your life. We want to be grateful for them already. That's why he always starts the gold cards. I am so happy and grateful now that. I am so happy and grateful now that. That's not by accident, that's by design. Then down here, he wrote out with his left hand, I'm so happy and grateful now that I realize my spiritual DNA is perfect and that perfection is within me. I begin each day looking for areas of my life where I want to see that perfection expressed habitually. And here is an exercise. Be quiet for 5 minutes and ask for guidance for the day. And then send love to those who bother you. So why do you want to do that? Well, if you have a resentment against somebody, what are you doing? You're clogging the hose. Now, it may be hard to send love to some people. And I know that because I went through it for a very long time. You can think of something that you do love. Like I love my little dog. I love my little dog. So I can think about Tika. I can think about my beautiful daughters. That brings up love. And I can take those feelings and send it to that person or that situation, whatever it is. If you keep doing that over time, that will dissolve. And it opens the channels then so we can get the messages for our lives. That's where our intuition comes in. Right? Our intuition knows which way we're supposed to go. But a lot of times, intuition will come knocking at our door, and we'll say, no, I'm not going to do that. No. And we close the door. So I remember every Thursday morning I do this call with this particular book with another mentor. And she said something, and I will think about this, I think, for the rest of my life. And she says Michael Jackson would call his producer at 3 a.m. in the morning with an idea that he got. He wanted to act on it immediately. And his producer would say to him, it's 3 a.m. Why are you calling me at 3 a.m.? He says, because if I don't act on my idea now, he might give it to Prince. And that struck with me, because how many ideas, how many opportunities have been given to us over and over and over and over and over. And then God's like, well, I'm done with you. I'm going to give it to somebody who will utilize this idea. That's how it works. I've been given this idea in 2018, sitting on my couch. And I've taught this on and off for years. But it never left me. And this year I have really studied this book like a scientist. And that's what Bob did. He studied it like a scientist because there's so much in there. It's how to live our life. It's a blueprint to live our lives. Thinking in a certain way, hold the vision, by law, acting in a certain way. Well, what does that mean? Well, when we act in a certain way, right, we are taking our vision. It has force behind us. Why are we doing the things? Why? So when we're taking actions, we want to hold the vision behind us, our purpose. Why are we doing this? Take action that's in alignment to take you towards your goal. A lot of times we can take busy action, and I know that because I do it. But I'm becoming more conscious of taking aligned action. Right? Our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. When those all work together, that's what's called alignment. Praxis is another word. Right? We want to get them working together without any resistance. And if there is resistance, okay. As Peggy McCall would say, put your arms around the resistance, send it some love. But as long as you are working towards your goal and taking action towards your goal, it will manifest. As long as you don't let go of that vision, and it's for the highest good of all. So those are the main chapters. Chapter 4, chapter 14, which is leaving everyone with the impression of increase. Right? We want to leave everyone with the impression of increase. Why? We're all seeking increase. It is the urge of the formless substance within them to find fuller expression. The desire for increase is inherent in all nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. People are seeking more food, more clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, more life. We only have one life this time around. Live it to the best of your ability. Bring joy into your life. Bring happiness. Have a purpose. Follow your dreams. Under every living thing is under that necessity for continuous advancement. Where increase of life ceases, dissolution and death set in at once. So what's he talking about there? Disintegration. Depression sets in. We don't do anything. And what we're focused on grows. What we give our energy to grows. That's why I worked out. I want to be, when I am a lot older, to be physically and mentally fit. I do not want to be one of these people with a walker at 70 years old. That's not going to be me. My head, my physical strength, I was, told I have raw physical strength, and I do. And I use that energy. Never get to the end of your life and have regrets. That's the hardest place to be. And Les Brown talks about that. He says the richest place is in the graveyard. Why? Because everyone took their dreams and their goals with them. Think about that. Don't let that be you. Understand you. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself because you have peace of mind. You have clarity. Your intuition is working clearer. You're following your intuition regardless of what's going on because you understand you and how you operate. When you get to the end of your life, be very proud of yourself. That's what drives me. I want to have no regrets. I had so many regrets my whole life. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm betting on me. I'm betting on these teachings. I'm connecting more. There's nothing more powerful than to have peace, direction, clarity in your life, where you're going. Have a goal, have a dream. That's why we're here. We're here to create life, our life. And you're the only one that can do it. The only one. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you got a lot out of this. I really loved doing it. It was definitely a learning experience for me too. So thank you very much. And until the next time, join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're reading the next chapter in the book, this particular book. We read every morning, every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. here on Facebook. Have a great day. Thank you.